Word-by-word text animation can be quite challenging in Davinci Resolve, but I figured it out. Check out this word-by-word ramp-up animation with fading, a blur at the beginning, and most importantly, the delay between each word is the same. All within one node with one simple expression, and you can change the text content to whatever you want and the animation still works. So let's dive in. Before we get started, I want to show you how people usually achieve word-by-word text animation in Fusion so you have a better understanding of the problem here. So let's get into Fusion here. Firstly, we want to have a text node, and then we will need to have some text. So let's type in something. And then we need to have a follower here. Before we do anything, we go to transform and we set up the transform into words. And now we can animate this offset. And we have it here at 0 and go back to the beginning and offset them down. And now all we need to do is set up the delay to something like 4. And now we have a word-by-word ramp-up. So we can set up the curve here to make it look a little better like this. And we have a word-by-word ramp-up. Of course, we don't really want the word just be randomly parking here. So we want something like fade in. The first instinct here is to come to shading, and we add a keyframe at opacity. And get back to the first frame, and we set the opacity to 0. And we can set up the curve to something we like, and we can see here's the first problem we're going to encounter is that even though we have a transform at word level, the timing is still using a delay between each character. So every parameter you have here in the shading tab is actually controlled by a character level. So it's fading in character by character. How can we solve this problem? There's a common workaround that we can do. Firstly, I want to disable this opacity, and we need to make a copy of it and paste this text node as an instance, pressing Ctrl-Shift-V. When we come to this instance, we want to go to the shading tab of the tool, not the modifier. And we go to shading, we de-instance the enable for the first element and disable it. And then you can pick any of the rest of the element. Because the element 5 is undefined by default, I'll use element 5, but any element will work. And we can de-instance this and enable it. What we can do here is set this to word and using a border fill instead of the default one. And let's view this text. And we probably gonna shorten the extend horizontal so that we have a slight spacing between each word. So we can see that this animation still works here. It just becomes a huge white bar. When we come to the shading of the follower, this is where the magic happens. Because we set these fill in word level, now they are bind together. For example, we come to this frame, set up the opacity, and we come to the first frame and make the opacity into 0. Quickly set up the curve here. Now we can see these fills are fading in word by word. Now you probably guessed it, we can use this one as a mask for our original text. And here's what we get. A word-by-word ramp-up with the fading effect. There's a couple problems in this solution here too. As you can see here, we have fading, but the delay between each word is not the same. When there's a shorter word, it's actually gonna fade in the next word faster. When there's a longer word, the next word gonna fade in a lot slower. This is because the delay value is still determined in a character level, not the word level. Another thing is, for example, you want to add a blur, then good luck with that. That's gonna be a hell of a workaround. Fortunately, there is a way, but it does require a little bit more manual work. We can make a copy here and make sure we view this one. And actually, I will just clean up the animation and set it to word level and clean up the opacity animation we have here. So we come back to the timing tab. Now we need to set the order. By default, it's automatic. We want to go to manual curve. What we have is a delay by character precision, and we have a set first select a character delay. How it works is that at first you need to add a keyframe at the first frame here, and then you want to select the first character of the text. You can select the whole word, but what it really matters is that you select the first character of each word and click Set First Selected Character Delay. By setting the first one, it doesn't seem like it do much, but when we set the delay value, for example, 7, which means 7 frame, and we select the first character of the second word and we click it. Let me shorten the composition so we can see what it does. It seems like it added a keyframe at frame 5. As far as I understand, the frame doesn't really mean frame. It doesn't have anything to do with the time, but it actually means index of the character inside of the text. When it says 5, it really means it's the 5th character inside of the text. In this case, because the index actually start at 0, so the first character is 0. T, 0, H, 1, I, 2, S, 3. And the space is 4, so 5 is the I, which is the first character of the second word. We need to select all of them and make sure increment the delay by 7 frame again because we want to have an even delay between each word. Now the third word need to have a 14 frame delay. Keep doing that. 21 if my math is working, and 28, and the last one is going to be 42. Now let's go to Shading tab. We can set up all the animation here. First of all, I'll go to frame 20 and set up a keyframe here at 0 and go back to first frame and get back here and make it a little lower, and we can give it a nice curve. And as you can see here, it seems like a character by character animation because it's defined by this curve here. If we add frame 0, which is index 0, the delay is 0. And we go to frame 1, the index 1 is using a delay of 1, which means the second character is using a delay of 1. But what we want is the first word need to have the same delay, which is 0. We need to make this curve flat. Luckily, we do have a shortcut here. We can click this step in button and we can make it flat like this. And now when we play back the animation, we have a word by word animation. And the good thing is the delay between each word is actually the same. Let's go to the frame we set the position animation and had a keyframe here. And then we go back to the first frame and make the opacity 0. And let's give it a good curve. And let's play back. We have a word by word fading with the even delay between each word. And now, because we can control every parameter in this shading tab, we can add a little bit of blur. Because we are moving the text vertically, I will just a little bit of softness in the y-axis. So let's go to the final frame here, and the softness should be 0. And then we go to the first frame, the softness should be maybe 5. Give it a nice curve, as always. As you can see here, we have a slight blur at the beginning when it's fading, kind of like a motion blur. Every word fade up as expected. Okay, we are pretty much there, but there's one major problem with this method is that if I change anything in this text content, for example, this is not a word by word animation, as you can see here, it's broken now. If it's just a one-off solution, then it's fine, but if you're doing a lot of text animation with this style of animation, this is unacceptable because you need to manually set up every delay between each word. And for example, if you actually want to change the delay value between each word, you still need to set up all of them manually again and again. So this is not a very good solution. But the only thing that's defining this animation behavior is this one single parameter, delay by character precision. If we can just use an expression to control it, we can make it automatically. After giving this idea to Gemini, we come up with a pretty good expression. The first 2 lines is actually just getting the value. First is the delay. We're getting the delay value here, so you can set your custom delay. And the second one is getting the follower's text value, basically this one. And then we have the third line and the fourth line. Those are the actual expression that define the algorithm. We slice the string from the first character to the current frame. Remember, frame means index here. For example, index is 1. The frame is 1. 0 and 1. We have 2 characters, which is th. We go back here and determine how many word is that. Th is only 1 word. So we get that number, pass it down, -1, multiplied by delay. In this case, we might use 7. And we'll return 0 because the first word's delay is 0. But when we come to the second word, for example, in this case, the index should be 5 when we reach this I character. and we have a text of this space I. How many words is that? That's 2. And then we go to here, -1 is 1 multiplied by 7, which returns 7, which means the second word has a delay of 7 frames. This will work across all the characters of the second word until we reach the third word. So we basically define this exact animation curve automatically. To prove that, let's paste that in. Let's right-click expression and paste this expression in. And make sure the delay value is 7 like we said before. And let's play back. The animation works. Now if we go back to this text box and make changes to this text, the animation still works. It's all with this simple expression. And look at this. The setup is so simple. You just grab a new text node, put in whatever text you want, and add a follower, change it to manual curve, paste in this expression here, set up the delay, and you can animate whatever you want from now on. It's so simple to set up. It took me like, what, 10 seconds? But is it perfect? Probably not. The one major thing about this text animation is the performance issue. For example, if I copy this text a couple times here, let's make sure the layout is good so we can see all of them. And let me play it back. And you can see the performance is ass. Maybe the expression is not very optimized. Let me show you something. If I recreate an expression, let's define a variable which is x equals 10, and the second line is return x. That's the most basic expression you can ever get. And let me play it back. The performance is still ass. It's slightly faster, but the underlying problem is not really about this expression. It's really about how follower works. Follower just gets slower and slower with larger text amount. It's just unavoidable. I can just reset this to default and we set it back to automatic. We have a default delay between each character of a 4 frame, and let's play it back. It's still ass. The performance is so bad just because I have more words and using a follower. Blackmagic, this is not acceptable. Performance issue and the fact that I need to spend all that trouble to set this expression up just to do a super basic text animation. This is the animation that I can create in second in After Effects or some free alternative like Autograph or Calvary. I don't understand why it takes so much effort just to do this. People like you and me, maybe we like figuring things out. We like tinker around and finding the solution to the problem we are facing. But the truth is, we shouldn't have to. So Blackmagic, figure it out.